everybody, and welcome to this month's edition of Stamping Like It's Hot. This is a hop hosted by Brianna Spores from My Life on Paper, and each month we do something different with our stamps to encourage us to use them more. I use mine quite a bit, but this month we are being asked to use some stitching stamps. So I have two stamps from close to my heart, which are called Embroidered Borders and Embroidered Circles. So those are the ones I'm going to use. So because it's a hop, make sure you watch everybody else's video that's in the description below, because there'll be some amazing things in this hop, I'm sure. My layout today is going to be black and white. I'm starting with a piece of black cardstock in the background, some white just inside it, and I'm going to use some cross stitch photos, given that we're doing stitching. I'm going to document a little cross stitch that I did. It took me quite some time actually, because I got waylaid with other interests, but I did take a few progress photos. That was the first photo. The second photo, you can see it building, and then it was finished there. Then I washed it, and then I had it framed. It sits up in our kitchen, so that's what I'm going to document today. Keep watching and we'll see how it turns out. To begin with, as usual, I have gutted the inside of the back black piece of paper, and I've trimmed 1/2 inch off two sides of the white, giving us 1/4 inch frame all the way around. And then I've trimmed these photos into 3x2s, so they came as 4 on each 6x4, so I've cut them into 4. I don't know what I'm going to do with the others. I don't even know how I managed to order 4 on a sheet, but the size actually works really well, so it's a happy accident. And I want those photos to be mounted in black, so I'm making pieces that measure about 3 1/4 by 2 1/4, and that should give us about 1/8 of an inch around each side. Now this cardstock, as you can see there, has a white core, so it's black on each side, but the middle is white. So I'm just running around each side with the black ink, and as you can see, that gets rid of that white piece shining out from the middle. I've also slightly trimmed the photo of the framed cross stitch and made a black square that will just mount it a little bit and give us the same sort of outline. So once they're all stuck together, I can get an idea of what they're going to look like on the page. So I've got 1 square and 4 oblongs. So I did play for a little while off camera, and this was what I came up with, leaving the top left hand side there ready for a title, which I'll also do on a square. So I've got rid of the white core by going around the outside with the black ink and cut a smaller white square to go inside that I'll do the title on. But before I get to that, I'll do some stamping on this white piece. So I've decided, once I got the layout worked out, that I'm going to just use the embroidered borders, and I'm going to line them up on this block, which is the same width as the stamps. Now I'm not sure I've used all of these stamps, so I have seasoned them before I use them, just by rubbing my hand over them in case there's any of the coating left on them. Now I do try first to line them up on the Versamat, but because the stitching is one line, it kind of wobbles a little bit. So I decided to put my block onto the Versamat so I can see the lines through it, and put the stamps across the block on the way up, and use the lines on the Versamat to try and keep them straight. So you can see that I've put a couple there, and they're quite thin, so it takes a little bit of manoeuvring to make sure they're straight, and I think I'm putting them a little bit closer together than they were in the packet. But as you can see, I do get them all lined up, and then I can just use them as one big stamp on the white daisy cardstock. So I'm going to try it out on a piece of scrap paper first, just using black ink and making sure the ink gets all the way across the stamps. And yep, that's the effect that I'm looking for. So I'll use the white scrap paper as a background for the cardstock, because I'm just going to start a little bit over the edge so that I make sure it gets good coverage. As it turns out, I kind of wish I hadn't done that, because when I get to the other side, I end up with a half an inch that's kind of blank. So I should have measured first, but I'll carry on here, coming down the left hand side and just moving the white daisy up as I go, so that the edge always goes onto the scrap paper, not onto the spongy part of my Versamat. Now you can see that the right hand side is not a straight line, and when I'm finished the whole page there are gaps which I'll just have to deal with. So I clean the stamp up and then trim off the half inch on the side, and then I decide to turn it around. So when I put the photos back on, the piece of white daisy is now smaller because I trimmed that extra little bit off, but I think everything's going to work okay, even though it's not entirely the way I had envisaged it. But bringing the black piece and putting it underneath helps to frame it. So the next thing I'll work on is the title. I'm going to combine this title piece with the title and some journaling, and I'll start with Morgan's Hand and also incorporate some of the pen pal alphabet. With the Morgan's Hand alphabet, I'm going to stamp the word puppy, all in capitals, but of course it needs 3 P's. So I have spaced them out on the block, and I've got the Y at the end, so I can just use my eye and get it in the right spot. And then I'll put the P on its own on a smaller block to fill in the 2 gaps where I need it to go. Just making sure you see me wipe the excess black ink off there. And then using the pen pal alphabet, I'm going to stamp the words cross stitch. Now this alphabet doesn't have a hyphen, so I'm using the I on its side as a bit of a hyphen between the X and the stitch, rather than stamping CROSS. So I'll first up do the X hyphen and the ST, and again just using my eye to stamp it in the right place, and then I can come back and reuse the I and the T to finish off that word. So just making sure there that it's all nice and straight, and again lining it up underneath, and I'm pretty happy with the way that looks. And I'll use one line of the cross stitch border to underline the heading and also to put a line at the bottom, and that gives me a space to do my journaling, which I'll do now. When I'm finished my journaling, I'll get out my splatter box, and I've decided I'm just going to put a few splatters around the black frame. So using the gloss spray, the best way I've found to do this is to use the handle of another paintbrush to just flick it off the end of the nozzle. The spraying doesn't really work as well because it gets a little bit too concentrated in parts. So I'll go around the outside doing this and then pop that over to dry, and then I can bring the white daisy piece back in and stick everything together. So apart from the stamping like it's hot hop, this layout is also meeting the requirements for Mixed Media Mayhem, which is a stamped background that we've done, and also now I've put splatters on the black frame, that's done, and the other criteria for that was to use some Nuvo drops, which I don't have, but I will add some liquid pearls to my heading square, and I think that will do. So I'm just sticking this all together now and trying to line it up. It's a little bit disconcerting for my mind that likes everything straight, because the embroidered stamps aren't as straight as I would like or as lined up as I would like. But I think it will look all right when I go away and come back and have another look at it. Sometimes it's best to have a little break and then come back, and your mind isn't quite so focused on what's gone wrong, but more on what's gone right. So I can add, make sure that's all sort of straight, and then add the white daisy to the black frame, and then add the liquid pearls to the titles piece. So these are onyx coloured liquid pearls, so they're black and fit in really well with the colour scheme, and that's this layout complete. Thank you so much for watching. Do remember to see everybody else's as well and leave us all a bit of love. We love the comments, the thumbs up, and the subscriptions are more than welcome. Happy crafting, everyone.